try to fix it. Oh, there we go. We started recording. Just give Zephyr a quick second here. I guess he has OBS. I've never heard of that. So.
Oh, that's a great product.
The streamer software.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I use it actually for various Zoom meetings or just video conferences, really, because you can set up a green screen setup in OBS, and then you can create a virtual webcam that any GoToMeeting or Microsoft Teams or Zoom or any of them all can use that virtual cam. So that even if the software doesn't support a green screen, you can still have a green screen.
Oh, perfect. So they can't tell if you're in the bathroom or something.
Yeah, or in a hotel room, or
my cardboard box.
What are you guys doing? Hotel rooms, bathroom. I mean, what?
RV. Hey, I'm breaking it bad over here. I'm in my RV. I'm cooking up some crypto magic.
Okay, so we got Craig recording. Zephyr, I'm not sure if yours is recording yet, but we're just going to go ahead with this because we are on a bit of a time schedule. So if you guys just wanted to start with a brief introduction of yourself and talk about the experiences that you have to get this project or platform rolling. And
Sure. Well, I'll start. So I'm John Coggeshell. I'm the originator of the original idea for Wayfinder Finance. I come from a tech background and internet background. My claim to fame in this space, in the tech space at least, is I'm a core contributor to the PHP programming language. If you don't know what that is, if you've ever heard of WordPress or used the internet, you've probably used my code. PHP runs about 80% of the websites out there now. And so I've been involved in that project since '96, on and off in various ways. Written a number of books on internet web technologies, very involved in the open source community at large. And now I've turned my attention to blockchain and the crypto space.
All right, I think I'll go second. My name is Ian. I'm a commercial and film producer. I actually I met these guys on another project, and I realized that I wanted to do something for the community that can actually get the community somewhere. I was watching these reg polls and these scams, and this industry is a really rough one. I'm very lucky to have met Kugel and Tree, and Kugel's idea is brilliant. I think you guys are going to be very happy when you hear about it, and I'm very proud to be on board.
Yeah, and then my name is Matt, aka Tree, or Treeski. And I got that name because I'm sure everyone will find out because they love telling people. I'm 7'2" tall. And yeah, so started out playing basketball, and I was a nerd when growing up. So I was basically always involved with computers and all that, just growing up, but too dedicated to basketball. And then I played Division I at Boston U, and then transferred to Eastern Illinois. And then after that, I played overseas professionally in Taiwan for a little bit. And then after that, I was ready to retire from basketball, and I got the opportunity to play with the Harlem Globetrotters, and I was the bad guy in the show for about 5 years, and traveled all around the country, or all over the world actually. Been to 41 countries around the world about 3 times. And then COVID kind of stopped all that, so I got to become a full-time nerd again. And then I met up with these guys through Discord, and history's history. I'm trying to make something nice.
awesome. Okay, so there's definitely there's experience here for sure. And a celebrity. That's another bonus.
I wouldn't say celebrity.
Well, more of a celebrity than me.
Don't be shy, Tree. Don't be shy. Don't be modest.
Well, it's like some people don't know I am, and then some people act like I'm Tom Cruise, but it's like I'm not that famous. I just yelled at children all around the world.
Yeah, me too. I mean, with the Tom Cruise famous part, not the yelling at children. Okay, so anyways, so why don't you tell us a little bit about the platform? I've kind of given the community a bit of a, a my simple version of it, but I'd like you guys to elaborate a little bit on how in depth it can be or is going to be.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'll start, and then you can fill in if I've missed anything that's relevant. So we started Wayfinder Finance essentially because I see an opportunity to create a lot of value through the crowdsourcing of opportunities. Essentially, we talk a lot about decentralized finance, but when I look at the technology, the smart contracts, the just the architecture of smart contracts and the way things are designed, they're anything but decentralized from a technology perspective. They're often just clones of clones. We call them forks. The amount of original ideas that come out of this space, or really more importantly, the ability for truly decentralized finance to manifest this idea that I can build off of somebody else's work and add new value without being completely separate from that original project is largely lost in this space right now from a technology perspective. And so that was the genesis of what has become Wayfinder Finance in my mind, is this idea that we can build an ecosystem and a technology platform that enables retail investors, that positions us as a very attractive platform for large institutional investors when they want to start offering their own investment opportunities in this space, which I firmly believe is coming. And also for people who are good at this. We all see the YouTube channels out there, and there are some really talented people out there who are very good at whether it's day trading or technical analysis or any of these sort of techniques that they use to generate profits. And people are always eager to try to replicate that. And one of the big values in my mind when it comes to Wayfinder Finance is I want to enable them to be able to share that knowledge and share that experience and share their talents with the entire crypto space, both for their own benefit, but for the benefit of retail investors and large institutional investors alike. And so we built a platform that I believe is the answer to that question that will enable us to do that.
I think you actually gave a great answer there. And it goes back to this idea that he was saying, this crowdsourcing of opportunities, right? You see these guys and they make bank. And one of the big issues that you run into are there are very few ways that you can really collaborate with them, right? There are very few ways that you can piggyback off of what they do. You're always a second behind them. So we wanted to come up with an idea that gives them the opportunity to do what they're good at, right? To make these high APYs, to do these incredible trades, and to get something from doing that, and then to give regular people, to give wayfinders kind of the opportunity to get on their back and make something as well. And it goes back to that crowdsourcing of opportunities. I think that's a really good way of kind of saying where we're going and what we hope to do.
Perfect. So for those who haven't seen my messages or been reading the announcements, Wayfinder is going to be like a platform for Wayfinder slash or bracket trader to trade on behalf of their community or their following. So like how you would follow someone on Facebook, and correct me if I'm wrong, guy, if I'm incorrect anywhere here.
Sure.
You're gonna like how you'd follow someone on Twitter or whatever, you'd buy their token, you'd throw in your portion of your portion of profits that they're going to use in order to trade. And then the profit, and that entitles you to a percentage of what they earn off of their trades. Now, when they do these trades, you're going to gain, they're going to gain reputation, which in turn gains them more of a following, and you'll gain profits. So the more that money they get to trade with, the more the percentage is that you get in return based on how much you put in.
Right. So that's relatively close.
Okay.
So when it's relatively close. There's a couple details there that I think are important. So we call one of the, if you were to describe an opportunity in our platform, we call it a waypoint. And there are two broad categories of what we envision as waypoints. The first category is something we call actively managed, and that is managed by a human being via proxy. They don't actually have direct access to anybody's investment funds. They can only interact in specific ways and do specific things with those funds. And they are essentially hanging up a shingle saying, "Hey, I think I'm good at this, and I want you guys, and if you agree, if you think that my performance reflects that, um, anybody can come and invest in that waypoint, and they can profit off of that individual's talent." The individual who's doing it, or the group of people who are doing it, it really doesn't matter. But the the group of people or the individual who are managing that waypoint are incentivized because they earn fees off of the waypoint. Wayfinder earns a fee for providing the platform and the service that goes into our treasury, and so that's one version of a waypoint. Another example of a waypoint is maybe you're not a great day trader. Maybe you're a guy like me. You're a technical guru. You're an amazing, or you've got some amazing algorithms. You're really awesome at technical analysis. You've got something going on that you can automate. Waypoints can also just be on-chain contracts. From our perspective, they look the same, which is an important quality of a waypoint. So whether it's a managed waypoint, or whether it's a person or a group, or literally an algorithm that's producing some sort of yield and some sort of revenue, the owners of those earn fees. Wayfinder earns fees off of that, and the investors who are investing in those waypoints, hopefully, are also profiting off of those. And we have the interesting thing about a waypoint is that I like to use the term they're composable, which is sort of a technical term, but basically it means that we can mix and match waypoints together. So I can have 3 different waypoints for 3 different opportunities, and I can invest in waypoint A, or I can invest in waypoint B. But I can also have a waypoint that divides my investment across those other 2. 20% in this one, 80% in that one, and that we call those journeys in our kind of internal lingo. But the idea there is it really is a kind of it's a portfolio opportunity. So if you want to be able to invest, if you're a retail investor and you don't really know what's going on, not only can you invest in any individual project, but you can also invest in a general strategy of 80% relatively safe investments, 20% riskier investments, and at the end of the day, under the hood, they're all waypoints, and everyone is earning their fees based on their popularity, and we really let the market show us. And that's what we mean by crowdsourcing of opportunities. We really let the market show us based on performance and based on who's got the highest value locked in a given waypoint, or this, or any metrics you want to look at, which ones are bubbling to the surface and profiting and doing it all in kind of a safe and secure way.
To build on that a little bit, something I'd like to stress is that these waypoint strategies, right, they can be very varied. They're not market dependent. There will be some managers who, they're the rocket managers, right? They're looking for things to go long, or they're looking for things to go high up in green, right? And you're going to have other managers who short things on the way down. You're going to have a variety of opportunities that exist. So as the market conditions change, right, your waypoints that you've put together, the journey that you've made also changes. So in this market, I would personally put together a journey that's maybe a little less, a little more risk averse, right? Maybe I have some waypoints that are based on shorting opportunities. Maybe I have some waypoints that are just based on truly stable coins like USDC, right? The market condition does not impact us in that way because the waypoints will adjust and the strategies will adjust.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I think it's also important to acknowledge that, as as a protocol, as a project, we also are pretty market agnostic. Our the value of our token, the value we're producing is service based. It's not based on some algorithm or math or some Ponzi scheme or something like that. It's based on the idea that our token really is reflective of the revenues we are generating via our waypoints. So whether the market goes down or whether the market goes up, we're planning on producing our fees for operating these waypoints, and we plan on having opportunities that work well in both markets. So that's also an important quality, I think, from an investor's perspective.
It's definitely something that when you guys were first explaining it, that it completely took me off guard. Like I had a really hard time wrapping my head around it. Well, I guess that's not too difficult, but the fact that it's bringing something completely, from my perspective anyway, from what I know, completely different to decentralized space. And like you said earlier, like there's so many forks of this project, that project, that basically boils down to the developers and the team and the community itself, that if the project's going to survive or going to do better, if they're improving, making the fork better, like if the forks but they've changed 90% of the code, is it really a fork at that point? Yes, in a way, but it's pretty much on its own.
Sure.
As far as like protection and stuff like that goes, for the people that are investing, like on your website, it says waypoints protect your investment from malicious actors under the rug protection, also partnering with insurance protocols. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Hey,
Sure,
Google,
absolutely.
why don't you cover the security side and then I'll go ahead and go into the insurance side.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the important qualities of the architecture, I mean, I encourage anybody who's interested in all the technical details to read. I've put together some technical docs that explain at least the broad concepts for those who are technically minded. But an important quality of a waypoint is that a waypoint is our smart contracts are the contracts that actually hold the bags. Those they hold the investment. So for whether it's a automated waypoint that's actually running some sort of algorithm or it's a managed waypoint, everything is done via proxy through our platform on behalf of either the algorithm or the manager. So from that perspective, there's no chance, for example, of somebody just taking all the money and running, because the money exists in the waypoint and we don't allow them to interact with that money in any way that we haven't predetermined that isn't pre-known in advance to every investor. So we lock it down on a contract level. We also, from an architectural perspective, obviously, from the way we design the system, security has been first and foremost in my mind from the beginning. And our architecture and our designs for these contracts are very much grounded in the idea of how do we make sure not that a bad investment can't happen. We can't control the market. Bad investments happen, but how do we make sure that our contracts or that our platform doesn't enable malicious actors? So that's another aspect. And I think a third aspect to that is how we plan on deploying our own treasury to protect our ecosystem and support our ecosystem. Jack Dorsey from Twitter famously said, those who control the liquidity pools control crypto. And I happen to agree with them. I mean, a token's worthless unless you can trade it. And there's certainly been plenty of examples out there of malicious actors kind of setting up their own liquidity pools, raising a bunch of money, for example, and then making the liquidity pool disappear and leaving everyone holding a worthless coin. And so one of the things that we will be doing as a protocol in how we deploy our treasury is we'll be using our treasury in part to secure the liquidity of our own waypoints, whether we created them or whether they're simply a popular one that somebody else has created. We want to make sure that the liquidity always exists for people to pull in and out of their waypoints as they see fit.
And there's actually a side effect to us owning that LP that is financially beneficial as well, because all of the fees of using the LP then go back to the protocol. And so we create a system where fees are always coming in from just natural things that go on. And to touch on the insurance that you mentioned, one of the things that I've been working on is connecting with a number of decentralized insurance providers in DeFi about insuring the waypoints themselves, giving people the option to insure the contracts from malicious actors that might hack them. Not to mention, we're also going to be audited, but that's besides the point. Insurance gives additional protection. And then another thing that we're working to offer is being able to offer insurance on stablecoins, right? This will be an option. This isn't going to be something that is on every waypoint every time. But it's going to be an option that people can choose. And then obviously there'll be a small fee that gets paid to the insurance company, but then that your stablecoin is insured. And so we're trying to create an environment where you can put your money, move your money, invest your money, and then be as safe as DeFi allows. And I think that's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I can riff off of that a little more honestly too, because all of this is building toward, in my mind, the idea of the idea of both retail investment but also institutional investment. In my mind, when I read the tea leaves of crypto and where we are heading, I think we are very, very close to large financial institutions starting to consider the idea of offering their own investment opportunities on chain. We're starting to see it, in the idea of stocks representing crypto investments. But I also think that ultimately large institutions are going to want to offer their own APYs, their own yield contracts for keeping your crypto with them. And as we approach that period of time, I know based on just my vast technical experience and my in this space and of technology in general, that those institutions are going to be seeking a solution that enables them to that makes them feel comfortable, that has some credibility behind it, that has some track record behind it, to partner with, to provide those opportunities. And I absolutely think that in my mind, Wayfinder Finance is as much geared to being that solution, and presenting ourselves and positioning ourselves as a solution for those bigger investors as we grow and as we prove ourselves.
Perfect. Sorry about that. My PC just totally locked up on me and cut everything out, so I had to jump onto the laptop. This platform is going to be cross-chain as well, right? Like I see on the website here, Ethereum, Phantom, and Avalanche. Now, is there? Do you guys already know specifically which tokens these Wayfinders will be able to trade on the platform?
Sure. So we do plan on being multi-chain. there are some technical realities and some caveats that are worth mentioning, I think. So we're building and architecting on Solidity, and so we will deploy over time our contracts and our architecture onto any chain that supports, that kind of VM on, as far as languages are concerned. The harder challenge, and it's something that I spent some time thinking about even now, will be, my ultimate goal and my ultimate dream here is that you will be able to invest across chains from any given chain, using waypoints. So you could have waypoints on Phantom, you could have waypoints on Avalanche, and the Joe investor who is on Ethereum can invest in a waypoint on their chain that ultimately represents an investment on Avalanche and ultimately represents an investment on Phantom. I don't personally feel that the cross chain bridging technologies that exist right now are quite as mature as I would like to see them, from a trust and a security perspective and everything else, to know exactly the approach I would take to implement that yet. But it's definitely something on our radar. To answer the second part of your question, when it comes to what waypoints are going to be available off the bat, that's still being decided to a certain extent. I can tell you that our game plan, as far as Wayfinder is concerned, is we absolutely intend to be eating our own dog food, so to speak, when it comes to waypoints. We're going to be building the infrastructure and the architecture that enables the entire crypto space to use and build off of our platform. And then we will both, as the initial offering to our early investors, and to help validate our own architectures and designs, be building a series of waypoints that of all stripes and colors that will kind of represent that initial volley, of investment opportunities, both as a proof of concept, as I said, but also to make sure that we have the economic pieces in place we need, in order to support our treasury and the things that we need to do otherwise.
And the token offerings are something that's going to be ever expanding, right? So whatever list we open with on day one is not anywhere near what the complete list will be. It'll be almost, I don't want to say daily, right? But it'll be a constant process of adding more tokens and expanding what we have available, especially as we start to go cross-chain. And we try to make sure that as many things are available as possible that we know are real, right? So as long as it's real and goes through some sort of safety process that we check to make sure that it's a legitimate token, we want to have it make its way into our platform.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
No, sorry. So one other question that I noticed was in the chat a couple times back when I had mentioned Wayfinder, and I think I just joined your Discord. Was what if you're not a regular trader? What if you're a weekend trader, like, or when you got some spare time, you look at the charts and etc.
Well, the great thing about our architecture is, it really is designed to enable all colors of investors. I can imagine that there will be investors who use our waypoints frequently in kind of a day trading perspective, especially maybe of some of the more automated ones that take care of things like auto compounding or things like that. I can see that happening, but for those who rather just kind of throw some money into an investment and don't want to have to think too much, we are absolutely positioning ourselves to be the go-to solution for that. And that takes me back to this notion of journeys. Fundamentally, a waypoint runs the spectrum in terms of risk, right? Market risk is just reality. So it's a new project. I want to see new projects writing waypoints. I want to see our platform being attractive to a new project, where they say, hey, we want to make sure we have a waypoint because people who invest in Wayfinder, that's a big pool of money that we want to make sure we tap into and sell ourselves to. But those, of course, are very high risk. As Ian has mentioned, I also very much see waypoints that are much more stable. USDC liquidity pool auto compounding waypoints, for example. Where they're relatively low yields, but you don't have to watch them very much. Or maybe you are a long-term investor in Bitcoin, right? So you want to you may invest in a waypoint that is a journey that's a combination of waypoints. If you only want to invest in Bitcoin, for example, you could invest in a waypoint journey where 80% of every dollar you put into the waypoint is basically just put into some sort of slightly higher yield Bitcoin hold strategy. And then maybe 20% of it you've decided that you want to put into a particular trader that is actively managing and day trading Bitcoin all the time, and increasing your yield that way. So you really can kind of construct the portfolio and the investment strategy that suits you as an individual. Whether that's something you only want to check in once a week, or that's something you want to check in daily, or it's something you want to sit there and let's leave for a year. It just depends on the types of waypoints you want to construct.
And
Yeah, that's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, no worries. One of the things that we to kind of expand on that is this idea of curated journeys, right? There are going to be some journeys that we put together for people who don't want to delve into building their own. We'll have journeys that offer higher risk or medium risk or lower risk, and these will be made by the team, right? So there will be a lot of different options depending on how involved you want to be.
I like the whole concept of this, especially with the whole if you don't want to check on it every single day and you want to know that things are safe, because life gets busy with everyone, and sometimes we don't have the time to keep up with the projects that we've invested in. And I remember when I first got into crypto 6 months ago or so, it was almost every hour, every 2 hours that I was having to check up on it and make sure I wasn't getting rugged, or because I came in, my first rug was Ring. So with that, okay, no, not too much laughing. Okay. So yeah, with that, I always was worried that it's gonna be pulled. So if people are trading on legitimate tokens, it's also positive for them, for that project to be on your platform, because it gives them investors that much more security, right?
Exactly. So if you're launching a new project, there are a lot of benefits in our plans to launching a new project, either including or exclusively on Wayfinder. Because again, if from a new project's perspective, we can help reduce some of the burden to a legitimate project. Because if you can reach certain thresholds and you're getting some popularity and you're driving investment to your waypoints, that will trigger on our end us supporting you through liquidity pool investments and things like that, so that both our community and our ecosystem and your project, have a certain peace of mind that you're not going to find other places, or if you find it, it ultimately boils down to, not only do I trust the project with X, but I have to trust them with Y and Z, and there's lots of gotchas and lots of ways that projects can in various ways, rug you or do things like that. And so we're seeking to eliminate a lot of that as much as we can.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that. I like the whole concept of the whole platform. I don't want to I don't want to continue talking, even though I got a million more questions, but because this was supposed to be more of a short introduction. We
Sure.
really appreciate all the information you're providing. If we'll get to the audience questions, if there's anyone out there that has a question, just do your request to speak, and we'll bring you up so you can ask the team some questions. No. Oh, yeah, this was a great
No,
little.
that just means we did a
there's
really
Lackey.
good job. We just did a really good job of explaining it.
Yeah, exactly. Lackey's
I
one
do
of
have
our
one question.
guild masters.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now, buddy.
Shitty service. I'm up on the roof. So you're talking about being out of short and long positions. Will you be able to leverage trade as well, though?
Yeah, so from a technical perspective, under the hood, a waypoint essentially is locked to a series of smart contracts that are known in advance and are trusted. So our team will say we trust these, we trust this platform's smart contracts. We don't really particularly care what that smart contract is doing from a technical perspective. We just make sure that this waypoint can only interact with contract X, Y, and Z. So if that contract, so for example, if that contract enables the manager to leverage the investment portfolio, that's what the contract. That's something the waypoint can do. And so you can imagine from a user interface perspective, you're an investor, you'll be able to see these things in advance. You'll be able to identify these are the contracts that it can use, and these are the types of things that these contracts do. So you can get a sense of the tools that you're giving somebody. When you give somebody your money, you'll see the tools that they're using in advance to hopefully make you money in the process. So that includes leveraging and any other protocol, wizardry that DeFi supports.
Oh, I don't think we can hear you now, buddy. Is your reception bad up on the roof?
He's just speechless from my flawless answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, he's back.
Can you hear me? There we go.
Yep. Now we can.
Goddamn phone! I swear to God.
The important thing is, did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you the whole time. You couldn't hear me. That's cool. Yeah, that pretty much answers the question I had. I got an algorithm I'm currently in the process of getting finalized that is seemingly very profitable at the moment. So it'll leverage and automation, and I think it'll be a good starting point.
Well, yeah, something like that would be perfect for a waypoint. And Tree, do you kind of want to touch on the UI a little bit and kind of the app a bit, since that kind of got touched on?
Yeah. So one of the main things we're trying to do is make our user experience like one of the first crypto / Web3 protocols that you go to that actually has one, let alone a good one. So we want ours to be great, the best. We want to be like the example of like, this is what you want your protocol to look like. And the one thing, or the main fact that we're kind of going forward with is there's 4.5 billion active internet users, and 3.5 billion of them are mobile users. And I think the same percentage is for crypto is about 90-ish percent, like it's up there. So the one thing we're going to do differently is we are currently, I think we've settled on it, but we're going to use Flutter to make a really good mobile app in addition to the desktop app. So you'll be able to download on the App Store our app and have a legitimate user experience you can go and go through our protocol with. And kind of the goals behind it is to just keep it simple. I mean, crypto's hard enough as it is. And yeah, like I said, the next evolution is all going to be about the user experience, just simplicity, and just MetaMask. Even MetaMask is awful for UI and just design in general. I don't know. I still don't know why it's so bad. But yeah, just some examples of like one thing I want to try to do is a lot of notifications, so we don't have to be staring at your phone all day because you're paying the fees to have someone else do the hard work for you. So there should be no reason to look at your phone ever if you're using it. So if anything does happen that you need to know about, you just get a notification so you don't have to be worried about checking it all the time. And basically, once we start doing our user tests, my goal is to have it so if our user has a question on what they should do or where they should click, then I didn't do my job properly. So we want to have our entire user test like, all right, here's your task and go ahead and do it. And then we'll just watch them, observe them, give them questions. And then at the end, it's like, all right, what didn't you understand? What did you understand? And then all the things that people did have trouble with, but are kind of just a little complicated, maybe just for more advanced users. The one feature we're going to have is, in Microsoft Word, how you have Clippy as the little helper for hanging out. We have Hercules, which is actually modeled after Google's cute little doggy. But we're going to have him sitting in the corner for anything like if you're on a certain page where users had the same question multiple times, but there's nothing we can really do to help it. Just click the little Clippy, and he'll tell you what to do. He'll guide you through it.
Yeah, and to kind of build off of that, in a more general sense, one of the things I think that crypto has suffered from is, and there are projects that do it better than others, and there are and there's certainly good examples and plenty of bad ones, but there's a certain lack of polish to not just the project or the economics, but even how they're run and the things that are important and valuable. Too much stuff's thrown over the wall just to see if it'll stick. And one of the core internal principles that I have for Wayfinder is to raise the bar and to bring a level of professionalism across the board. And that means being very conscious and conscious and intentional about how we choose our technologies, using the best practices taken from the normal web. I've been in web development for 25 years. I know how to build apps. I know how to make sure that they are tested well. I know how to make sure they're secure. And I know how to make sure that they're maintainable and that users feel comfortable using them. And so we're going to be baking those processes, whether it's user testing to make sure our interfaces make sense, whether it's unit testing to make sure our contracts are behaving as expected and we're not introducing bugs, or any of those aspects. We are going to invest in doing things the right way because, again, I think the biggest prize at the end of the day is if we do these things right and we build these things all together, we are going to look and feel like an organization and a protocol that is going to make all of those people who are still wary of crypto feel much more comfortable, whether they're a retail investor or whether they're a large institution looking for a partner. And I think that we're really well positioned, and the space is dying to have somebody step up to fill that gap.
Perfect. I'm really liking what I'm hearing, even from when I first joined the Discord. And like, if I'm getting confused, it's definitely something new to the space. And even though I've only been here for a short period of time, I feel that it's been a lifetime. I've seen one of our questions has oh no, Benova. Do you have a question or no? Okay. So I'm going to invite them up to speak, and then Zephyr has a question that I feel is a pretty good one. Now, after that, we'll close we'll close up so you can get back to your party, Kugel. And so Zephyr's question is, as far as the waypoint strategies are concerned, are you able to give an example of some starting waypoints, and how is an actively managed waypoint handled? Rewards to the manager, and how much goes to the Wayfinder?
So I'll kind of answer those in reverse. The waypoints themselves, what they have baked into them is a percentage based fee mechanism, and there's really kind of two versions of that. There is the one that Wayfinder itself sets, and that is our fees for that waypoint. I predict that those are going to be pretty low. I'll let Ian opine if he wants to try to name numbers right now, but it'll be something I think very much in line of what you would expect from a decentralized exchange, something like that. And then there will be the fees that are set by the waypoint owner. So in an actively managed waypoint, that will be things that they set themselves, and it will be variable depending on the waypoint. So, for example, if for the initial volley of waypoints that we internally produce and release on our platform, that manager, that owner fee will likely just be zero, I imagine, because we already are charging a fee. We're not going to charge a fee twice. That seems a little silly. So we'll be charging, we won't have a fee. But as people start building things on top of our platform, it's going to be up to them about what they want to charge. And that's something that and that actually brings up an important point, which is that these sorts of things can also change over time. So two things. So a couple of things about the implementation of waypoints that we haven't discussed yet, and I think they're very important.
Kugel, I'm sorry. Before we get off of the fleet, let me just interject for 1 second, and then I'll step off. In terms of the waypoint manager fee, just to clarify, that's going to be some sort of performance fee that they set. So their fees are dependent on them being able to perform in their strategies, right? So we create this circle of, I guess you can call it a circle of benevolence, right? They do well in their waypoint. They set their performance fee, 1, 2, 3% of performance or whatever fee they set. They get that fee based on how they perform. And if they're doing very well, then the performance fee winds up being nothing compared to what the APY they generate is. And so it creates this sort of circle where they get rewarded for doing really well, and you get attracted to the people who do well.
Yeah, and that's an important point. Yes, thanks for clarifying that. It is those Wayfinders fees are service fees. The owners of the waypoints are performance based. The other detail that I think is important here to touch on is, and I will kind of throw this in with the owner fees on waypoints, and you'll understand why in a second. Is rather than attaching the ownership of a waypoint or even the investments of a retail investor to a specific wallet, we've decided that we are going to issue essentially, and they're going to be NFTs. They're not going to be the traditional NFT that you think about, a picture of an ape or something, but it's the same technology. It's going to be a unique token that represents ownership, like a deed, of a waypoint, or a portfolio of various investments. So when you invest in a waypoint, you would actually say, I would like to invest this $1,000 into this waypoint, and here is my portfolio token. And we will assign the value of that investment to that token, which means that token can be bought, sold, traded, potentially leveraged. And that's an important concept in our platform because we want to provide a consistency on the technology front. Right now, when you look at things like how do I leverage this or how do I leverage that, it's all dependent on the token implementer. Then there's a lot of inconsistency. So projects, especially when they're just forks of forks and things like that, just the idea of trying to implement leveraging can actually be a very hard technical challenge for a protocol that wants to provide that. Where with Wayfinder, all they'll have to do is be able to support leveraging and a portfolio token, and then any protocol that has a waypoint is something that that a user would be able to then leverage and borrow against for whatever purposes they see fit. And so that's a really important technology detail that I think really speaks to what I said at the beginning of this AMA about being truly decentralized and really upping the game on the technology front. And to the other side of that is the ownership tokens, the NFT that represents ownership of a waypoint. So in order to if you're an active manager of a given waypoint, the definition of that is he who owns the deed token to that waypoint. That's the one that can interact with the contract. That's the one that can perform trades and do whatever needs to be done. And what we're creating is an opportunity, just like the portfolio side of the fence. We're creating an opportunity where a savvy investor can create a waypoint, build value through performance, earn money along the way, and in turn actually build value that they can then leverage or sell themselves. Because these deeds that control a waypoint, if you've got a waypoint that has $250,000 or $250 million in it because you're really successful at what you're doing, you're making money, that deed is essentially represents owning that investment tool, that profit center. And that can also be leveraged or bought or sold or traded. The obvious question, and this is why I kind of brought them up together, is how do we protect retail investors, especially on the ownership side? We want to protect the investors. For example, we don't want a bait and switch, right? We don't want, say I'm really, really good at trading Bitcoin and Ian has money. I don't want to build up an empire in my waypoint where I've got all these investors who trust me to manage their waypoint, and then I just sell the whole thing to Ian, and then Ian takes the whole thing. That's not good for anybody. So we have time locks that we plan to implement, and those time locks will apply to the transfer of the ownership of a waypoint. Once some sort of financial agreement has been made, for example, between an owner and an investor wants to buy the waypoint, they can do that transaction, but we will prevent the transaction from actually happening for a period of time, and give the community very public announcements to those transfers. So any investors who maybe don't like the idea of the ownership changing hands are free to pull out their money before the ownership changes. And likewise, if a waypoint owner decided to change their fees, their performance fees, that those changes will only take effect after a certain period of time, and those will be publicly announced and visible to all investors, so that if a owner decides that he's going to triple his fees, every investor has the opportunity to make sure that they can pull their money out before those fees take place if they're not on board with the new deal. So I think those are two important points from a kind of implementation technology perspective that we've baked in, again, with the idea that we're here to support that ecosystem we're creating, and we're very invested in making sure that we really portray and act as an honest broker, an honest technology provider for this space.
Perfect. Wow. I still have a million and one questions, but I don't want to take up too much time here. This remember we were saying this was supposed to be an introduction, and I feel that this is going to end up going into a 2-hour AMA. So with that being said, I just want to let everyone know that's listening, we are going to have a follow-up AMA. This was more of an introductory for them to explain to everyone and to get this out on YouTube. to explain what's going on and the project and introduce themselves. Their pictures are doxed in one of the posts that I did on Twitter, and they have also all over their webpage. I shared their webpage in the official AMA chat, so if you wanted to take a look at that, and there's links to their Discord in there as well.
Yep, just wayfinder.finance. Real straightforward.
The gorgeous
And,
website. Don't made it.
we're gonna have I've selected randomly selected people in our in the audience here for memberships to our Discord and our content, and I believe they have a giveaway as well that I'll let them take over from here on how they want to do their giveaway or if for their early access positions.
That Ian got that right.
Oh, no
Might be
echo.
losing.
Well, if Ian's gone, here's what I suggest.
I think his mic's not working.
Yeah.
We can, so we are doing a giveaway for early access positions. And if Ian's unavailable, I think we have a relatively small crowd in this AMA. So we can just make sure we get, I see 16 people here. Make
That's
sure
it.
we get everyone's name that was, there you are, Ian.
Yeah. No, so for this particular event, we'll be giving away 5 early access spots. It's up to Johnny to determine who he's going to want to give that to. If you keep a look at our announcements, Steve will better explain how you can get one of those passes. And the early access pass is going to give you essentially access to our first raise, which will be the best opportunity to get in. And those are the starter funds that are going to let us bring in more devs to sort of expand on what we're doing.
Perfect. Okay. So I took a screenshot of everyone that's here. And I'll take care of that over the next day or so. And I'll contact you all personally. And yeah, we'll make the announcements after everyone's been contacted.
Yeah, and Johnny, I just want to say thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for the Trader Havens team, and I really appreciate you giving us the chance to go in front of your community and just tell them what we have.
No problem. Thank you very much for joining us and revealing some of the more in depth, because I think there's quite a few people here that would be very, very interested in this platform, especially with it being as decentralized and off of CEXs as it will be. Now, yeah, I can't wait for the follow up.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Johnny. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And hope everyone has a good rest of their day wherever they are.
You as well, and enjoy the rest of your pool party.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Have a
Have a
great
good night.
evening, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
You're lucky, and if you say I love you too.
That's all I was gonna say. I was just gonna be like, "Yep, I love you." And that's it.
All right. Have a good night, buddy.
Have a good night, man.